2024 it is, and on 28th March, it'll be, everybody's film, The Goat Life. So if you could just take us through the journey, and of course we want to see your reaction, when you see it finally with the media, with the Indian audiences, the trailer. So if you could just take us through.
Thank you to all of you for being here today. It's a very special evening for all of us. It's a very special film, not just for the team that's made it, but I think it's a very special film for multiple reasons, which we will speak about as time progresses. The journey didn't start in 2018. The journey started in 2009. 2008, 2009 is when Mr. Blessy got the rights to this wonderful book that was, of course, based on Mr. Najib's real life, written by Benjamin. And he one day called me and said, I'd like to come and meet you. And in 2009, as it is even today, in the Malayalam film industry, when director Blessy calls you, you pick up your phone, right? Because he, much like back then, even today, he is one of the most coveted filmmakers the Malayalam industry has. And for us, actors in Malayalam, a Blessy film is a box that all of us want to tick off at least once in our life. So to go back to 2009, I am this young actor who's trying to come to terms with what I am, and how I'm trying to discover myself as an actor. Blessy, the Blessy, calls me and says he's doing this dream film, which is his ultimate vision for his directorial career, and he wants me to play the lead in it. And I'm like, okay. So that's when the journey started. But it took us 10 years. It took us 10 years to finally get this film rolling, because even back in 2009, Mr. Blessy's vision for the film was so gigantic, it was so huge, that at that period in time, it was next to impossible to envisage something like this from the Malayalam industry. Luckily, in the 10 years that ensued, a lot of things changed. The industry dynamics changed. Our revenue streams, obviously, became bigger and more proliferated. And finally, even though it still remained a huge risk when we started in 2018, finally we were able to do it. And from the very get, set, go, Blessy was very, very particular that this is not going to be a green screen studio film. He always knew that he wanted to go to the real locations, the terrains, and organically shoot it in a real environment, and that's exactly what he did. But unfortunately, shooting the film was just the beginning of our struggles, because 2018 we started shoot, and as you all know, the pandemic came in between, and we had to suspend our shoot for 1.5 years. But we never gave up. When the world reopened, we went back to Algeria, to the middle of the Sahara Desert, to Timimoun. I don't know the places that we have been, if a film crew's ever even seen. We were that deep in the desert. Jimmy, myself, we shot in Algeria for a month. Then we came back to Jordan. We finished what we could not finish when we started in 2018. Then we finally came back to Kerala and wrapped the film in 2022. So it is an epic 16-year-long journey. I'm 41 years old, and 16 years of my life I've been associated with this film. That's a significant portion of one's life and a more than significant portion of one's adult life. So for me, on the 28th of March, many things culminate, only one of which is a film. So yeah, thank you for being part of this very special journey. Repeat it on a mic for the cameras. Yeah. Ma'am, I think they would want you to repeat the question on a mic for the cam. Yeah, she's just bringing it to you.
Tell me the process of playing the character. It's a very tough role, I can see that. And tough terrain, you all have shot the film. Tell me about it.
So the process of playing the character is actually deeply intertwined with the process of actually adapting it into a feature film narrative. Because the book that Benjamin has written is based on a real life that Mr. Najib has lived. And the film that Blessy has made is based on the book that Benjamin has written. So much like the book is an encapsulated version of the experience that the man has lived through, the film can only always be an encapsulated version of the literature on paper. Because the thing with literature on print is that you have the liberty of micro-detailing. So you can detail every single moment in the character arc when you're writing it down. if we were to make a film that would then capture every detail that is written, this would at the very least be a 10-hour long film. So I think at the very beginning, Blessy told me what I'm trying to do is not recreate the book, but what I'm trying to do is try and make the audience feel what I imagine Najib must have felt. And that was a cornerstone of designing the performance arc as well. I realized at the beginning that the character is so complex and the arc has got so many crests and troughs that it is going to be impossible for me to look at it as one giant character arc. I'll have to break it down in my mind. So Blessy and me decided that we are going to break down the narrative into 3 parts. Of course, there is one part that is not included in these 3, which is who he was before he lands up in the desert. What he was back in Kerala, what he used to do, his family, what did he leave behind before he gets trapped in the desert. So that is one part of his life that will come to you in little pieces, segments of flashbacks in the first half of the film. But that aside, I think Blessy had this wonderful idea that we have to break down the narrative into 3 phases. So the 3 phases, phase 1 is when he lands up in the desert and he realizes that he's stuck. That first phase of actually trying to fight the circumstances and trying to find a way out, and the phase of denial where he's thinking, no, this can't be, I have to get out of this place. And the performance is metered to that emotional graph where he's just not ready to believe that this is happening. So the performance is metered like that. Then the narrative breaks at one point, and then you see him a few months later. Where he's slightly thinner, his hair is grown, his beard is grown, and he's angry. He's angry because that's a phase where he's questioning everything about his predicament. The biggest question in his mind is, why me? And he's angry at himself, he's angry at his circumstances, he's angry at God. And so the performance is metered to that in that one phase. And then the narrative breaks at another point, and then you meet this man 3 years later, where he's completely different. He's no longer the man who you saw. He is more animal than man, because for the last 3 years, the only conversations he's had are with the animals. So then you meet this broken man who's now come to terms with the fact that this is something he will have to live through. And he will have to go to the other end of this experience. And the other end of it might be death, might be escape, might be salvation. But he has almost come to terms with a spiritual realization that this is something that he is meant to live through. So then the performance is metered to that. So that's the way I broke down the character arc in my mind. And this was a discussion that Blessy and me have had over many days, many months actually. And I should thank him for letting the actor's interpretation take so much space into the style of filming, because he did actually then design the way he filmed the entire film on this classification that I just told you about. Sorry? Oh, the physical transformation involved not eating.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, just.
Not eating?
Yeah.
How many days in a row?
Yeah, so actually I mean it quite literally. I guess this is a good month to be talking about it, because my transformation was largely based on fasting. And there was a consensus between my trainer, my nutritionist, the doctors on set. We had doctors on sets, that there is no healthy way to do it. That there is no healthy way that somebody can lose 31 kilos. So you just try and be as safe as you can. So it was largely based on fasting, and it used to be sometimes up to 72 hours at a stretch. Yeah.
Congratulations to the team. This is on your left. Hanji, this is Simran Singh here. First of all, congratulations and kudos to you guys, because 16 years put into this project, and with such dedication, we see the result, and we are going to wait for the main film to be released.